Welcome to episode 450 of the Tilehurst podcast. 2 games to recap tonight, a loss in London and a win up in Wigan. We sit 6 points off the playoffs and 11 off the relegation zone as a result. But the big question though, are we progressing or regressing under Leam Richardson? Joining me tonight is the sweetest pickle in the jar. It's Mr. Ross Webber.
Is that a bread and butter pickle? Do you call it that over there? Or I know gherkins and pickles are quite different either side of the Atlantic.
Well, it depends really.
Do you put pickles in a sandwich, I suppose, is the question. Do you ever do that?
Branston pickle.
Branston pickle. Okay, no, I mean like a kind of a gherkin, almost like a McDonald's style gherkin. Yeah, would you ever put that in a sandwich?
I probably wouldn't love it in a sandwich. And I'm not against it, but I wouldn't chuck it in a sandwich.
My wife's and her family pretty much always put like kosher dill pickles in their sandwiches, whether that's through like
whether you were going to say they're like gherkin farmers or something.
Well, that would be the extreme of it. Yeah, I go down to the gherkin farm every Christmas, and we have a roast gherkin for the main dinner. It's delicious. No, they do pickle chips on top of everything. Anyway, you said sweet pickle on a bread and butter chip. That's my point. And then I just realized I might have to explain that to the British people. So it's now explained. There we go.
Well, we're here to talk footy. Before we do that, we're here to talk business. Huge thanks as always to our one and only sponsors, ZT Films and Voldemort and his crew. Huge thanks to the Amazons for lending us their Super Smash track, My Blood.
As always.
Also, we've got a new partner. We're partnering with Siren Brewery, who are based out of Finchampstead in Berkshire, which is very close to Hogwood, which, you know, older fans will know that was the old training ground.
I love how local you make this pod. It's good because like sometimes it gets a bit too international audience with my nonsense. So like it's good that you're like Finchampstead, a place that I don't know for sure exists, but I'm very excited about Siren Brewery. So that's good.
Yeah, and we are. Yeah, we have some more details on the next pod. But it's good news for you guys as listeners, especially if you like beer. So we're going to kind of develop that partnership, not a sponsorship. It's a partnership. We've only got one sponsor. We always will, but it's a partnership, which, you know, was genuinely hand on heart, has been in the offing for quite a few months, regardless of recent developments with, you know, other things in the Reading fan sphere.
Right.
So, you know, it's not like we've gone, we better do that as well. Like genuinely, this has been talked about for quite a few months. So
Ben's always liked drinking beer. Don't worry, he hasn't needed an excuse to go out and make that kind of partnership. But no, we're very excited about Siren. What did you say the name of the town was one more time?
Well, it's the place is Finchampstead. That's where their main brewery is. But they've got a bar in town, which is opposite actually a wonderful all-you-can-eat Chinese buffet. Actually,
very nice too,
and Pop World. So if you want to make an evening of it, go down Friar Street, go to Siren, have a few beers there, go to the Chinese opposite the road, and then go to the Pop World. It's a great evening.
I'm not going to ask what Potworld is because we'll never get through the intro, but let's move on.
Yeah, well, listen, we are. Oh, God, lost my voice then. I was thinking of pickles. We're gonna talk about the Wimbledon game first of all, and then we we've got quite a few things to discuss overall in terms of style over substance and results over substance and all that kind of stuff. So we're going to get into it right now. Right. Yet again, a player scores a hat-trick against us, Marcus Brown. If you don't know who he is, he put us to the sword on Saturday, the Wimbledon game. Bit of a mess, really, all round, to be honest with you. Tail of the tape, really, is that we went behind, we equalised, we went behind again, we equalised, and then we went behind again. So, you know, without going into all of the specifics, having, you know, watched the game, it was pretty obvious to me that the team talk from Wimbledon would have been, man mark Charlie Savage and Lewis Wing out of the game, let our centre-backs have the ball, and they will just give it back to us. And that is exactly what happened in that game. We were talking off air before we started recording, and Ross described us as soft. And really, the first goal genuinely was one of the worst goals I think I've seen us concede from start to finish. Losing the ball, not getting it back, chasing shadows, just for want of a better phrase.
And on the subject of not getting it back, there's a part in that sequence where he wanders into a section just on the outside of our box on the right side, one of the Wimbledon players, and there's 4 Reading players around him, and some of them sort of half-heartedly attempt to tackle, but there isn't really anything. There's not really much going on. The team is soft at the moment, and it does really, really bother me. I mean, just in this particular game, they just lose duels. They don't quite make the tackles that they need to, at the times that they need to, and especially when the ball's on the ground, they're just kind of second to a lot of balls, especially in the center of the park. So, it wasn't super surprising to me to see Liam try to change the midfield with Fraser coming in. We're not going to get onto that game just yet, but I did think it was kind of funny because he made a mistake as well in this game, obviously, that kind of led to the third goal with an attempted pass through the middle. But yeah, there's just opportunities to make challenges that would end attacks and things like that that have not been taken always. And that's been something that's been quite frustrating watching this Reading team, especially, when it comes to higher up the field. We're really not winning the ball at all when it's higher up the field now. So there's just more times than it's getting thrown at our centre-backs, thrown at our goalkeeper. And we're just not quite getting the same performance as we got last year. So, yeah, I think it all comes from a bit of softness.
When you put it into context from an opposition point of view, Wimbledon hadn't won at home in the league since September.
Yeah.
So regardless of the performance level, and we've come to realise that the performances of this team are not good in general, but somehow we've managed to grind out results here and there over the last few weeks.
I think it's more, again, just to reiterate, I think it's more that you don't have to be that good in this league to win games pretty consistently. I don't see any team as being exceptional. I think that you can just if you can be solid, then you can just put together a 10 to 15 minute spell, and that can be enough in a lot of games in League One.
And in the game, we couldn't do it. We gave the ball away so cheaply. As I said, that first goal within 8 minutes. If you've not seen it, genuinely have a look. It'll be on Royals TV or probably on YouTube now, or probably even Sky Sports, I guess. But it is absolutely ridiculous to be in a situation where you start the game, within the first 10 minutes, you concede a goal like that. And however good the resilience may or may not be in a team, when you start the game like that, for me, the writing was on the wall. It's that's that really. And we did manage to get ourselves back in the game, but we didn't have the capacity or the ability to be able to see the game out. And he talks about Liam Fraser giving the ball away. It was just a cheap loss, really. And given that we had, in large spells of the first half, struggled against a side like Northampton the previous week, you would have thought there would have been some sort of reaction, but there didn't seem to be that. Jack Marriott, we could do a whole podcast on him. Wonderful. I don't know where we'd be without him points wise. I'm sure you probably, run the charts. Or
some point I've got to run that. Yeah.
It is absolutely ridiculous, with all due respect to Wimbledon, to be in a situation where we become the first victim since September. I just,
Well, that's kind of, again, though, being soft, right? It's about the compete level. I don't necessarily always mean soft as in, they can't win any challenge, but it's the urge to go and actually win that, the urge to actually compete at, a higher level. I think it would be hard to... I mean, Lewis Wing's numbers this year are really good. And last week I was talking about how, I think they've worked out how they want him to work in that kind of spot. But for ages, Liam had that kind of the the Savage and Wing midfield get overawed by a setup that the opposition manager will put together. Like you mentioned, them getting man marked a lot. It is quite easy with that kind of 3-2 build up structure to mark the two midfielders and have that really be kind of game, set and match for what you want to do in terms of progressing the ball down the field. Wing is such a talented player that obviously like he's able to deliver a few balls long forward anyway through that. But yeah, you're kind of just like limiting yourself to only being able to really build up in one way, I think. And just, yeah, that particular game, not great to see. I was a little bit concerned about Pereira, and I thought that the drop of the ball for the second goal, I thought two things about that. One, I think that's something that comes from that sort of like mentality, again, like I don't want to call Pereira soft necessarily, because that sounds very like I'm being like targeted now. I would call that more of like a team general issue they need to show us more in terms of compete level. But Pereira, I think, is also in the same locker room, and he's struggling a little bit with the same things. And I kind of thought about that drop when Wigan scored their goal last night as well, whereby it's another cross into the box that I wonder if Pereira's decided not to attack because he's remembering what happened in the previous game. And Dorset still made a mistake in this particular Wigan goal in that second game of the week. But I thought that could have been cut out by Pereira as well. And I think that earlier in the season, sort of like Pereira makes that catch, Pereira makes that high claim, no issue. And I just think it's kind of like a little bit of a mentality thing again.
I mean, regardless of what people say, I think this lot are on the beach already, quite frankly. And I don't think, we had a massive long conversation, didn't we, on Saturday around Lewis Wing and the captaincy element of it. There was reports of him not being happy with the away fans. There was reports of Matt Ritchie effectively laughing at the away fans. Like what was inspiring about this team last year is that last season, everyone was in it together. There was a team and a spine there that you could really get behind and go, yeah, I'll back these lads. And whilst there is a core element of them still being at the club, there doesn't seem to be a drive there anymore. And whether or not everyone's tired from the last few years, everyone, maybe Liam's tactics and his setup aren't suiting these players, I don't know. I'm not sure, but it just seems well off at the moment. And as I said at the start of the pod, despite being 6 points off the playoffs, for me, we might as well be 66 because, as I said, many times this season, we are not capable of putting a consistent run together to be able to get in there whilst relying on other teams who are in form in the playoff spots to lose games so we can catch up. Like it doesn't bode well for me. And when I said on this pod last week, I thought we'd lose to Wimbledon, and I got like proper people diving in on me for that.
I think I used the like Jonathan Frakes not a chance gift. I had a proper I was like no. And
because we got it in our locker. You can't trust at the moment this group of players to consistently get it done. Like there are players there that are trying their absolute best. There are players that I don't think are. There's a bunch of players. It's just a mishmash of a squad, and I understand why, because the summer overall was a bit of a mess recruitment wise, even though maybe those individual pieces were okay. They just don't fit into a system or didn't. Two of those are basically out of the picture. One's obviously gone back to his parent club in Matty Jacob, and he's doing very well by all accounts back at Hull. Omani, no one really knows where he is anymore. I don't think he knows where he is, to be honest. So,
hopefully his family know where he is. Well, that's the most important thing.
It's proof that those things didn't work, and then you come to this. You come to this window, and by and large it was good, and we have to give credit to the club for that. But it was a reactionary window. It wasn't a kind of, we're planning for the future and see what happens. It was like, we need some defenders.
I would have been more sympathetic to that if we didn't have Roberts and Benn Ward, because those are two young players in the defence who, were. Or there was like an argument you could make that you could plug them in right now and they would immediately improve the team. But also, I think with Benn Ward, you're not thinking, it's not like Will Keane where it's like, this will get us through the next 4 months. It's like, here we go. Here's like a 4-month ramp to like next season, but also like we're going to have you for the next year or two. And I do want to get onto more positive stuff soon because Benn Ward is definitely on my positives list.
He is. I mean, let's move to Wigan then because we went a bit off track there. So obviously we're then faced with a situation where we've got to go to Wigan on Tuesday at the back end of winter, which no one wants to do anyway, let alone at this time of year, in the pouring rain. And for some reason, he looked at that team from Saturday and dropped Charlie Savage. Now, obviously, people will be rolling their eyes straight away because they know how I feel about Charlie Savage. But if you're dropping Charlie Savage, it must be A, because there's some injury or something, or B, tactically you want to try something radical. Well, I don't think any of those things are true, really, because he was in the back.
Okay. So, I think we changed quite a lot.
And then you bring in the guy who basically cost us a game on Saturday. How does that work?
All right. So let's talk about this because I know you're not going to be happy with Liam Fraser.
I'm not. I'm really not happy. Because it's ridiculous. The whole thing is stupid.
He had a good game. He had a very good game, Liam Fraser. He had in this Wigan game, he had the most completed passes in the game, an accuracy of 93. He created a chance for Kamari Doyle with a nice punch through the middle at one point that I don't think I've ever seen Lewis Wing actually even manage a punch along the ground through the middle through a seam. It's always a big ball over the top, a big diagonal with Lewis Wing or something like that, and he's really good at it. So I'm not complaining at all. But the thing about Liam Fraser is that he doesn't do anything spectacular. I thought that the mistake, that he made in the build-up for the last Wimbledon game was quite uncharacteristic, though, because that's the kind of thing he doesn't tend to do much. The player he reminds me of the most in recent years is probably Michael Craig, in that he sort of just does the dirty stuff very well. There were a few points last night whereby Reading build up in this 3-2, and I really don't like that there are 3 defenders that sit at the back of this thing, because I think that it basically very often leaves the front 5 players attacking against 7 to 8 defenders, and that's always going to be a bad situation for them. But in any case, I think with Liam Fraser, like in this 3-2, one of the things that was happening is that we were making mistakes and giving the ball away sometimes, before we actually made it through to the final third. And I thought Fraser kind of cut that out a little bit last night. There were a few times when we were threatening to lose it, when we were like passing it around at the back, and he would be cognizant of like the mistakes that his team were about to make, as well as, what the Wigan players were going to do. So I thought it was a pretty good performance from him overall, but this was an odd lineup. I thought tactically this was all over the place, and we weren't sure what it was going to be, right? When it came out.
Through it. I mean, it's obviously JP in goal, Nyambe, O'Connor, Benn Ward, who had a good game. I thought it was probably one of our best, if
excellent
not the best player on last night. Jarrell Dorset, Paddy Lane. I mean, for God's sake, I don't know what planet Paddy Lane's on at the moment. My patience
we can talk about that too.
Now. Lewis Wing, Kamari Doyle. I think he's now, what is he, 3rd in the list of goal scoring creators in terms of assists and goals and everything else. Liam Fraser, Hayden Roberts was pushed up a bit, and then Jack Marriott. I mean, Jack Marriott at times he might well have been in a boat last night.
Kamari Doyle is funny though, isn't he? Like he gets himself into decent positions, and it's whether he'll make the right decision. Like that was the main thing. I'm not surprised he got the assist in this game. Like because I thought that when they I thought we were utterly garbage in the first half hour of this game. And then a little bit before that, if you kind of saw how we set up, it ended up like, yes, it was this sort of like, it still was like a 4-2-3-1, whereby they kind of put Roberts up on the left side of the forward thing, but it became a 3-4-3 very, very often, whereby Roberts went out wide in the 4. And then you had Kamari Doyle and Paddy Lane behind Jack Marriott in front of them. And also, you know, all the way on the other side, sometimes Ryan Nambi would get really high up. He had a nice cross into the box as well. So having both Nambi and Roberts, you know, pretty high up, and then we had Dorset, Ward, who would often end up in the middle of the three when we wanted to set up like that. And so I thought that was quite interesting. Really quite different. The way I thought that it didn't really work for the first half hour. We were kind of struggling in the way that we often do, which, you know, where we kind of struggle to know who should take responsibility in midfield sometimes. But after about 25 minutes, as called by Ryan on the comms, Kamari Doyle and Lane switched sides, and I thought that worked a lot better. Lane created a chance for Reading around the 35-minute mark, shortly after Roberts had managed to get into the box, and he had kind of had two bites of the cherry there to score. So that was good to see as well. So this was a very different lineup, and I felt that it didn't really start clicking until Paddy Lane was on the left side, and Kamari Doyle on the right. Just
going back. So obviously he's looked at the team from Saturday, and he's thought, keep Paddy Lane in, you know. He could have brought in Caden Young. He's yet to feature, and fine, you know. But like the decision making in the dugout at the moment, like last night. So he takes Paddy Lane off. He brings Matt Ritchie on.
So he's putting on the left side, though, isn't it? So I think with that one, I mean, that was an odd one. The thing that was odd for me is I didn't notice that Paddy Lane was gone for like 5 minutes because he wasn't doing much at that point in the game. But I mean, we've seen Paddy Lane play on the left side, play on the right side. We know that, you know, Kamari Doyle can move over as well, obviously. So I think that would have been kind of what they were thinking there. A lot of coaches now, I mean, we remember this with Paunovic years ago, where he's like, positions don't matter, where they just think that like as long as they've got like a forward player, they can play anywhere across the front, and it's like, yep, that'll do. Richie just gets chucked everywhere, all over the lineup. The thing that I didn't think worked was when Richie and Ehebachiman were together, when they came on. That they were just on a different planet.
But we've said this time and again with this team, there's no cohesion, and to change, you know, to bring in Liam Fraser for Charlie Savage, I don't understand it based on a performance level on Saturday. You know, I cannot fathom it really in terms of that. The other, you know, I get bringing Benn Ward in. I understand that. I think that was probably a sensible thing to do. But I mean, and this is going to sound ridiculous. Obviously, Dorset scoring 2 goals in the last 2 games. Other than that, he's been pretty awful, and yet he's still getting a game as well. So there are a number of situations here that you look at and go, the manager isn't helping himself. You know, these are hard decisions to explain. Yes, we did pick up the win. Quite frankly, I could have put a team of any 11 up against Wigan last night, and they would have beaten them. They're on a hide into nothing at the moment, Wigan Athletics. So, you know, this kind of tinkering and messing around, and as you said, positions don't matter. It's just ridiculous. It really is. And it's hard to justify at the moment in terms of where he's going with this team.
It is worth noting Reading have one of the lowest rates of switching their lineup in the league right now. I need to go and find the actual stat, which I'll do shortly. But the team that's actually made the most lineup changes do you want to guess the team that's made the most lineup changes from week to week? Just before
in the league?
In the league, yeah, sorry, in League One.
Absolutely no idea. Maybe
absolutely
Luton?
No idea. Cardiff.
Right.
First place Cardiff are the team that's been tinkering. Is it Claudio Ranieri who's called the Tinkerman? Which I think that this Reading team could stand to experiment a bit and kind of pick up some more ways to attack and things like that, because Roberts came in and we immediately became very wed to like his style of like goal scoring, whereby you go down that left side and that sort of changing trigger. And I think that's partially because we're like, oh great, like we've got something new, we can go and do that. And I think that spoke to a need for something new. And I suppose for me, there have been lots of conversations this season about what do we do to change up the midfield? How do we get that to change? You look at the composition of the midfield. Lewis Wing sitting on 8 assists, 8 goals for the season. It's really hard to take him out right now. Kamari Doyle sitting on 4 assists and 3 goals this season. If you were Charlie Savage, I suppose, and you were being told, 2 days before the game, I'm dropping you to the bench for this one, what would your response have been? What would you have said? But I've done this in recent games. Like, what would you point to as Charlie Savage?
What, in terms of why I'd keep him in?
Why you would keep your place? Yeah.
Well, I'd be saying, why can't you push me up further? Frankly,
we've talked about that too.
Liam, it feels like he is, and this happened under Sellers to begin with Savage. He's not used appropriately in this team, and if you are dropping him over performance levels over the last couple of games, I don't see that. I don't think many people see that. I think in terms of bringing in Liam Fraser, I don't know what he offers that is better than Charlie Savage. Yeah, okay, you can talk about pass completion, but it's not getting us anywhere. That was not a good performance overall last night, and overall,
I still think it was a good performance over. I'm not having that it wasn't a good performance. I think it was a good performance. He created a chance for Kamari Doyle too. And I think if you go and look at Savage from December on, I think what you're going to see is a lot of meh. And while the stability is good, I think we have been complaining that the midfield feels like it could be more dynamic. Now, during that time, Kamari Doyle has been okay. He brings something to a game, like once or twice a game, that is something that nobody else on the team can do. And I've liked having Savage, higher up the field to give more energy. Because I think that I kind of think there's a bit of Scott McTominay about Savage, and that he's kind of like thought of as more sort of defensive, a deeper player, whereas actually his skill set kind of suits more like being up high. I kind of almost like a Scott McTominay, I assume, almost like a Mason Mount, whereby he could move around, up higher up the field and disrupt. And that's something that Reading could do with right now. We've really fallen off. We're in like the bottom 6 teams for wins in the final third. But I do think that just having him sat there in that kind of double pivot spot for as long as it had been just wasn't really helping him or the team anymore. And he will want to play every single game, but he didn't have a goal or an assist since November. So in terms of the actual production, there's nobody on the team he could point at and go, I'm doing better than you on midfield right now, is the problem.
But my argument has always been, particularly with Wing and Savage, why can't they play in front of the ball a bit more? Why have they both got to sit as deep as they are? Like against Northampton, at times they both got in each other's way because they're so deep.
I think that's part of why they took Savage out, though, isn't it? Like, do you take Savage or Wing out, and they went for Savage?
That's a formation. That's a lack of understanding of the quality and the specific skill set that you've got in terms of players. His obsession with giving it to the centre backs and asking them to just lose the ball, right? Paudie O'Connor has not worked. Okay, yeah, again he scored last night.
I thought he was really good last night. I gave him an 8 out of 10. He won every single duel. Paudie O'Connor won the ball every single time it came to him.
But in terms of playing it out and actually using the ball, there's nothing there. There's nothing there.
I think there is, though. That's what I was explaining last time. What they have now is that they're trying to switch this kind of thing around, whereby Paudie is now almost in that sort of right back spot that Lewis Wing would go to quite often, because he can do that raking pass over the top. And he's looking for Hayden Roberts. He was looking for Daniel Chiewa before. And then when we move a little bit further forward, there's a part of me now that's wondering with Wing if like part of why he wants to be at the distance he's at is because he thinks that's the optimal distance for him to catch the defense out when he's pushing it forward for Marriott. He needs that little bit of room in behind the defense. He needs that little bit of space that's behind the last line of defense and the goalkeeper, so that Marriott actually has time to get onto that ball and snap it up before the goalkeeper can get to it or something like that. So I think that's why Wing has to play further back. Paudie O'Connor last night, he was exceptional. It really has to be noted. He won every single duel he was in.
Would you describe anyone last night as exceptional?
Yeah,
Really?
yeah, I would describe him and Benn Ward both as exceptional. I thought Wigan, basically shut them down for large parts of the game, and I think that it's not super surprising to me that the cross that Dorset had to defend as it came into the box is the one that ended up in the back of the net rather than the one that Paudie and Benn Ward had to defend. The first half in that game last night was just awful. It was just dire football. And when they showed the highlights at halftime, it was one of those where it's like, what highlights are there? Well, I'll tell you what highlights there were. It was a bunch of crosses into the box and Paudie O'Connor getting there first and heading it away, basically. So I think that he needs someone with him who can help him. But I did definitely see signs that Benn Ward could be that guy last night. So
I just think there are, fundamental, lack of there is a fundamental lack of understanding of what these players are capable of and how they're being used, and the overall brand that he is he is implementing with this team makes us very, very static, makes us very easy to play against, makes teams more likely to score against us because we are so passive at times. Like I said to you, Marriott really might as well have not been playing last night in terms of the lack of service and the moving forward.
You and I really saw a different game last night.
We did because there isn't the cohesion or the connection there at all.
Yeah, I mean, but I kind of feel like he did almost get put through by a wing in the first 15 minutes. He had a moment where he came back in and helped. He helped link up for a wing to get a left-footed shot midway through the second half. Your striker doesn't do that much. Sorry, that's a stupid thing to say. Your striker doesn't have as much volume with the ball as like any other player on the field typically, right? Your striker is almost always going to be the player who touches the ball the least. So like there is an element of just like run around, and run the channels and things like that. But yeah, I mean, Jack Marriott was the player with the least touches of anybody who played 90 minutes last night. So but he was the person who had the least touches of anybody last night. He had 28 touches. That was like Sam Smith's average. And obviously, like we used to complain that we couldn't get the ball to Sam Smith quite enough. And I still do think that we sometimes have an issue whereby we're too happy to kind of go wide with our attacks and just makes the final product way too easy to defend. But I think that, yeah, I don't know. But I think that we were okay last night. Not great, but again, I don't think that you need to be great to win games in League One. And if you win every single one of your aerial duels from your centre backs, then it's going to be really hard for a team that wants to attack you, with balls into the box to win. So stuff like that can work. And I think the thing that's tricky is that if you look at the last 3 games, they're all away games, and we've got 6 points out of the last 3 games. Said before all of that, if we had asked before, how many points would you want out of these 3 games? I think 6 we would have been pretty happy with mostly, and yet I completely understand why you're kind of like, I'm not so sure about this team and stuff. So it's weird, isn't it? Like you asked at the start of the pod, are we progressing or regressing? And mathematically, you can't argue that we're not progressing because we are. But I completely understand where you're from in terms of connection and
I guess this is what makes it so frustrating, because you're right. You don't have to be good to win games in this league. My frustration, and it always has been. I don't know how many times I've said that on this pod already, but it's the potential and the quality that we know is in this team individually and, in some areas collectively that just isn't realised at the moment. Like people, I've seen a lot of people going, Reading fans generally are really entitled. I don't think it's entitled to want to be able to compete at the top end of this league after 3 seasons. I really don't. We've done it. We did it under embargoes. We did it not signing players. We did it with, points deductions. We did it. We've done it. Mm-hmm. And this season, it just feels like, the start was bad. And yes, points wise, since Liam's come in, we would be top 8 or something, or top 6. But
We're pretty high
that's
up,
irrelevant when we're not actually top six and we're not there and we don't seem to be able to have consistently good performances. And he keeps making these odd decisions. Like it's really, really frustrating to watch that last night. And again, people would be like, "Shut up, Ben," because we won. I know that, and it's good to get the points. But really, I don't think it would have taken a lot to put a little bit of sparkle on the performance. I really don't. His decision making in terms of the players that he brings in and keeps hold of, and keeps putting his faith in. Like what has Paddy Lane done over the last few games to justify starting that team over anyone else on the wing?
I think Paddy
How does
Lane.
Matt Ritchie keep getting minutes?
Yeah, I think Paddy Lane has what Paddy Lane has that some of the others in that position don't have. It's more of Reading's financial interest, but tied up in him because he has a contract with us and we bought him. So we're going to be paying for Paddy Lane for a while, and so we have to see what we have. And like he has done good things in the league in the past, but like obviously has not had the best season for us so far. I think that like I agree with you that like I think that's the key, right? So I just looked again. We're sixth since Liam came in. We have 28 points out of 16 games. We have 8 wins, 4 draws, and 4 losses, which that kind of sounds about right. But I think that like I think what you're right about is that like it feels like with this group of players and everything, we could be doing better. Like we could be doing even better than we currently are. And I know that it feels I'm being overly optimistic or whatever, but we've seen these players do good things, impressive things before, and play better than they currently are. Like I think that personally, I think that Savage had a really good first couple months of the season, but his last season was a little bit better than this season so far, in my opinion. I think last season he was really very useful on the left side of that kind of like double pivot. I think this year, because Liam's tactics haven't worked out for him as much, it hasn't been quite the same. And I think that though what worries me is that these players seem to just give up the momentum far too easily. Like someone Taylor came on last night for Wigan and just completely seized the momentum of the game for a good 20 minutes, and where Wigan looked like they could really run away with it. And he came on the field, he scored a goal just by, I hate the phrase wanted it more, but he did. He just wanted it more than both. It was properly one of those like goals whereby like the defender and the goalie are like both kind of working, who's going to go for it or whatever, and then the striker just nips in and deals with it. And it worries me sometimes that like these players that we have, it kind of goes back to this "are we soft" thing I was talking about. Like these players that we have who we know can do well, we know have done good things in the past, just wilt very easily when like one setback happens during a game. And I think that and the fact that sometimes we're just not ready to go when the whistle starts, either in the first or second half. That's kind of what is stopping fans from getting closer or like feeling closer to Liam. I think it's the least inspiring way to put together mathematically decent form. I think. It is going to matter, though, and we'll get into it in the preview, I'm sure, what the teams in the playoff run do. And right now, Bradford are the one that appear to be absolutely falling to pieces. So we will have to keep an eye on that.
So just to wrap this up, so what do you say, over 16 games since Liam's come in?
We have 8 wins, 4 at home, 4 away. By the way, 8 wins, 4 at home and 4 away, which is pretty good.
Hold on, so 16 games, what's that, 48 points available. We've got 28.
Yeah, we've got 28.
So we've dropped 20 points and we're 6th. Shows how bad the league is then, doesn't it? Really?
The team that's scored the most points in the last, this is since November 1st, just for clarity again, is Cardiff, and Lincoln are second. So, and amusingly, Peterborough third. So isn't that kind of fun?
It shows you how bad this league is then. If we're dropping 20 points in that time, we're 6th. Sorry, but that's just a joke.
Do you not think though that like the general competitiveness level of every league has massively increased in the last few? I think it's so hard to hide anything for more than a game or two now, right? Like, so we brought Hayden Roberts in, immediately made some changes to how we attack because we had that player and we could do that. And now within 2 or 3 games, teams have pretty much worked out how to deal with it. Like Wigan's right back had basically been assigned to Roberts and followed him up and down the pitch and mostly had him dealt with. And I think that the rise of Y-Scout and other platforms like that, and the rise of like smaller clubs having analysts, for in the coaching like setup, I think this partially means that like after like you can go out there and win any game because you can go and dial up a game plan that could beat whoever. And that might be that can kind of be like a leveler in football if everyone has this sort of technology, or we can go out and be like, okay, I know I've got an analyst too. I know what I need to do to beat a high pressing team. I'm going to dial up this sort of setup. I think that there's a lot now of like, and I talk about this sometimes as being like football getting a bit boring. But I think that there's a lot of like every team can go out and watch every minute of every other team now and like analyze it in high detail and are doing it. And so like I just think that there's more parity than there was maybe 10 years ago.
I think if you look at the Premier League and how competitive that mid bracket of teams is, yeah, sure.
Championship as well.
Yeah, I mean, maybe, but that would take another pod to properly dissect, I think, really.
Yeah.
We got quite a few things in listeners' corner, so we'll do that now. Because you guys have had a few things to say. Right. I don't know where to start, really.
I feel bad now. I took up their time. I talked for a lot then. We just did a really big review.
Positive is Tom Sheeran's back.
Oh, hello,
Tom Sheeran is back.
How you doing?
Our mailbag.
How you doing?
Rummaging around in the mailbag.
It's back to the mailbag, is it? It's not listeners' corner anymore.
Well, whatever. Yeah.
It's been on the sirens.
Yeah, exactly. Defensively looked stronger against Wigan, still lacked creativity. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Also, what is our obsession with passing out from the back?
Everyone does it.
To go back to Joel, who then hoofs it to Jack, who rarely wins a battle in the air, seems counterproductive and slows the game down. Ross might disagree.
You gonna? Oh, okay. I mean, they're always gonna.
You just did. I just talked to you about Wigan. You're like, we've seen a different game. I was like, we've definitely seen a different game.
We definitely saw a different game, but I mean, I can agree with you that like the creativity could have been a lot better during the Wigan game. I think that we created enough chances to win the game, and I definitely think that it was helped by Lewis Wing's absolutely. Can we talk real quick about this? Just singularly, Lewis Wing's delivery for that for the Paudie O'Connor goal in the Wigan game was absolutely sublime. It was gorgeous ball. People talk about wands of a right foot or whatever, and I've slagged Lewis off a few times this season in a way that suggests I don't know what I'm talking about. So let me just say that delivery, Lewis, was lovely stuff. Very, very nice. What was the question? Oh, it was about building out from the back, wasn't it?
Yeah, they just give it away. There wasn't really a question. It was just the general crux of it was, what's the obsession with passing it out from the back to go back to Joel, who then hoofs it to Jack, who rarely wins a battle in the air.
It's a hybrid. It's a hybrid building out system. So that's kind of why there is that option to hit long. And the team definitely, if there was, we've talked about before, we kind of wish there was a little bit more thought, for lack of a better term, on the summer transfer window. But I think at least with Paudie, one of the thoughts was he can deliver the ball long. I think at that point they thought he would end up playing on the left side of defence and Lewis would then be on the right side, and that would give you two people who could hit the ball far. That hasn't worked out. He's kind of playing now on the right side, and at times I thought that's been problematic because that then puts both of your players hoofing big diagonals across the field to the left side. It makes it very, very obvious what it is that you're trying to do. But I think, we kind of saw clues again as to what it is that Liam wants the team to do with Benn Ward's performance, whereby you saw the return of the trendy studs on the ball thing, Brighton kind of made famous under De Zerbi, where you're trying to bait the press onto you. And I think something that Liam really wants, again, I talked about it a little bit during this pod, but is space in behind the back line of the defense and the goalkeeper. And that can sometimes lead to the game getting really condensed into that kind of like small middle third, and then we chuck a ball long, and if it doesn't work out, it can go over the top of Marriott's head, or it can go out for a throw-in or something like that, and it looks utterly rubbish. But I kind of agree with you. Sometimes it's rubbish because it's League One, and sometimes rubbish football happens in League One. But I think that is at least what they're aiming for. They're aiming for a long ball to one of the fullbacks, or they're aiming to kind of condense up or bait up the back line of the opposition so that they can then try and set Marriott free and behind. Whether that works, I will leave up to you. But that, I think, is what Liam is trying to do.
This is why you need to be watching this on YouTube, because you can see my faces that I pull when Ross talks.
Yeah. So, when we get onto tactics, I start gesticulating wildly, and Ben just sits there going, "Oh my God, why do I subject myself to this?"
Exactly. There's loads in here, really. Where do we go next? Dex, what's going on with the lineup formation? Completely lost what our plan is now. Was the two headers a tactic or just a fluke?
Was the two headers a tactic? That's a great question. I think we deserved the first goal for sure.
Great work by Hayden Roberts, to be fair.
Oh, thank you for saying that. Yes, I completely agree. He busted his little butt off, didn't he, running into that corner?
I think he's a great player. He's a great player.
I really like him. I'm really happy with Hayden Roberts. It's like I'm trying not to, when you fall in love with a player a bit too quickly and then it turns out they're rubbish after a month or so. I'm trying, but I watch Hayden Roberts and I'm like, yeah, I like a bit of that. That's what I want out of my left back. Benn Ward as well. Just a fantastic performance against Wigan too, and I was quite excited about that. I hope that he sticks around. I think that we deserved the goal with the first one, and I think that was the best of what we try and do with this sort of creating goals from wide areas, especially wide of the box. And you saw a very similar goal, I think, with the Will Keane with his first goal for Reading a few weeks back. I can't quite remember who that was against. But in any case, that was another good example of kind of goal that Reading like to score. So I think that particular goal, I think that one is designed on the training field, and the fact that like Roberts went out and then Dorset showed up in his spot, as part of the attack, again, just speaks to the mechanism. Now the second one, I think that's too, like I said, Paudie O'Connor won the ball every single time he went up to get it with his head against Wigan, every single time. And so basically with that particular goal, I think you're looking at one of the best deliveries from one of the best midfielders in the league, and then delivering it onto the head of a guy who has scored consistently for the last few years 3 or 4 headers a season. I think that every now and again you're going to get that kind of thing, but that's what you get from like quality, and that's what that's why we should be a decent team in this league, and that's why we should be better. Next question. Shut up, Ross. Lots of questions today.
Talk Reading. We've got the heavyweights in the mailbag today.
All right.
I just looked, actually, right. So Talk Reading have put a hypothetical question in there.
Okay.
It's got more likes and more comments on that question.
Just shut down the whole page.
Than our original put out for questions in the first place.
Great.
They got 19,000 followers as well. We're not far off 15,000. How has that even happened?
Well, they're the talk of Reading.
That's good from you, actually.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. They are the talk of Reading. But now they joined.
Stop looking at other people's socials. Ask the question.
Gone down a rabbit hole. Right. Anyway, Talk Reading. Thank you for chipping in. If Liam keeps up his PPG, you like that, wouldn't you, Ross? What does that mean?
Points per game.
Ooh, I thought it was
Yeah.
double PG tips. If Liam keeps up his PPG of 1.75, statistically the best of a Reading manager in 91 years. I mean, that's gross. But the style of football stays as it is. How long do you think it would take for all fans to be fully behind him? I mean, that's a really, really good question, because that cuts to the current issue that we have within the fan base, in that there's still people that go, we're lucky to have a club. And then there are other people that are like, this standard of football is appalling. I'm going to throw my season ticket into the Thames. So, you know, it's either one or the other at the moment. I mean, I guess we'll start with the basics. Are you behind Liam Richardson as a fan?
Yeah, I would say yeah, currently. I mean, like, I'm always behind the manager, though. Like, even Noel, it was always a case of, like, hey, Noel, could you show us, like, you know, something so that we can get behind you, basically. It wasn't a case of, this man's awful and we need him out of our football club immediately. With Liam right now, as I've said before a few times, I think that it's clear that he at least is paying lip service to modern tactical ideas that, in my opinion, will help Reading to progress as a club. Whether he is the man to see those through, I'm not 100% sure. I think that he has flaws. I think the biggest one that I've mentioned is game management. I think that we can be slow to adjust at times. That said, I literally mentioned during my Wigan review here that there was an adjustment midway through this game to move more into that 3-4-3 setup and move, switch Kamari Doyle and Paddy Lane. And I thought it worked out very nicely. Lane created a chance for Marriott, and Doyle got the assist for Dorset from those positions that they were moved into. So it's, there are some improvements there as well. I'm behind him, but yeah, I know you're a bit more mixed.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not behind him, no, but I'm not against him either. I
don't really know what that means anymore in football.
What?
Are we behind him? I'm just
well,
behind.
Like, do you think he's the right man? Like, do you? So for me, if I'm really behind a manager, I'm looking forward, win, lose or draw, to their post-match comments. I'm looking forward. Okay. I want to know what they know and what they feel. With Liam, I don't feel that. I don't watch or listen to his comments after the game, mostly because I don't think that anything he says has an impact on me as a fan. So, with managers that we've had in previous years, like I always really wanted to know what Paunovic thought of games, because despite everything, I thought there was a real football brain there. I wanted to know what Sellers thought of games, particularly when it was going bad, to see if there was going to be an improvement coming. With this guy, I don't have any interest in listening to him, and I know football is a very personality driven sport. No one wants a clown in charge, but likewise, no one wants someone who's blinkered to the fact that they think everything they're doing is the best. And I'm not saying Liam Richardson is either of those things, but I just don't have that connection. And I kind of, when he was appointed, I wanted to go, yeah, great, we'll get behind him and all the rest of it. But I felt at the time there was other managers that we probably should have been looking at and maybe pushing through. I mean, there's a lot of comments on this that I think are pretty good. I mean, Andy Roberts said, this is going to be the worst promotion party ever. I'm not sure how he's getting results. Players awful. Over 70 long balls last night, which was more than our touches in the final third. The league this year is making mediocre managers look good. Noz says, good question and a tricky one, because nobody really wants to go and watch games like yesterday. But if you're getting results and moving up the table, I think it would be different if they all showed charisma and drive like they did.
That's the word. Who is that?
Noz.
Charisma is the word that I was kind of 100%. Thinking. Like, you remember how we kind of turned on Gomez and called him a used car salesman after a little while? Jose Gomez. Is it Jose Gomez? Yeah.
Someone called him a used car salesman.
People call him used car salesman all the time, from what I remember. They give him that sort of vibe. But I think that he was kind of charismatic. Yeah, I know, but not in the second. Not in the the second. I guess whatever, not the second half. You know what I mean? Like the first half of the season where it went horribly wrong.
I like Jose.
I thought Jose Gomez, sorry, he's Portuguese, and Ruben Seles. I thought those two are charismatic, and Paunovic was charismatic as well. And I think that was like part of, you could see the human underneath them. I think that was part of it. And Liam's a bit LinkedIn. Like, he's a little bit like, I went out and my team gave a stinker yesterday, but they still won 3 points. Here's what I learned about sales strategy. He's a little bit Rich Tea Biscuits. You know what I mean?
It feels a bit PowerPoint a lot of the time, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah, but like I feel like that's probably a little unfair because again, like if it works, then like I wonder how the Wrexham fans feel about Phil Parkinson because he is kind of like a
job for life, apparently.
Well, there you go. Yeah, like
Rob.
Yeah,
Rob McElhenney, not Rob Cowick. That'd be weird.
Yeah.
GWB 15. I think honestly the standard this year is just so poor. He's getting results he really shouldn't. I think the football is painful to watch. Philip, it will be most if winning, but the lack of entertainment will not bring back the casual supporters. That's the key. And some lifers will give up on it like many did under Stam. Again, that's a really good point because I didn't have the same issues with Stam that a lot of other people did. Like the football wasn't fantastic, but there were some really good players in that team that were really likable and really positive. And obviously we ended up getting the playoffs and we're a kick away from the Premier League. And I'd still maintain, had we gone up that year, we would have been all right because Stam's draw power alone would have got us some great players. Genuinely would have got us some really, really good players in terms of his reputation in the game. So, but Philip's right. People were really anti-Stam because of the style of football.
Yeah.
But there was a bit of a hangover in terms of, we've tasted the Premier League pretty close or pretty recently, won it back desperately. Now it's like, just want to get out of League One, really, to be honest with you, in terms of where we're at. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of varied comments on there, really. And it is a really, really good question. So thank you.
It is a really good question. I do, like I said, I've said a bunch of times, like I kind of sympathize with the argument that like football is a little bit, I don't think it's boring, but like I can sympathize a little bit with like some of the opinions about modern football and that it is slower. There's all these teams now whereby it's like, there was a question here about like, why do we always try the build up phase and then like end up kicking it long? And I think that's like it's like sniffing out the symptoms of the issue, which is that every team now wants to build through the thirds and they want to do it in this kind of like fancy way that they have determined they want to do it to their game plan rather than just maybe attacking the space that presents itself to them. That was kind of the modus operandi of football for a very, very long time. And I think that I could understand getting frustrated with watching, that kind of football when it's not going well or not producing a lot of goals, especially. I think that the period when around the kind of the Plymouth win and the really good run over the holidays was probably the time when Liam's era felt the best at the club. And that was because he was scoring goals. Like his team was scoring out there and scoring goals.
Still on a honeymoon period, though. There wasn't really in a lot of respects.
Was it after the honeymoon period, really, though? Because I feel like he didn't really get a honeymoon because Carlisle result immediately happened. And so immediately people were like, oh, it's still the same. Nothing's changed. So, yeah, it's a really good question.
It is a really good question. Mark, is it okay to be happy with winning football matches but annoyed about the performance at the same time? Absolutely. Been saying it for months.
Yeah. Yeah. The Stockport fans were really on about it too. Like they were really, I remember like they thought they don't think they're having a good season. And it's like, all right, mate. Like I wouldn't mind being where you are though. So I think there is
this is football all over, isn't it? Football fans, like, Charlton are a massive example of that. Like I remember when they were all like, we want to get rid of Kirbishley, and he was consistently getting mid-table finishes with little to no budget. And just bringing through gems and then selling them on and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
And the Charlton fans wanted him out, and they just went into a spiral that they haven't recovered from since.
Yeah.
So it's one of those, isn't it, really? Obviously, we're talking more about established teams in different leagues, but for us, I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know.
Yeah.
My official take on it, if anyone cares, is that I would I'm not happy with the way we're playing at all. I find it really difficult to watch. I don't see the enthusiasm or the desire from the players as a result of what they're being asked to do tactically. I think
Yeah.
that word from Noz about charisma is fantastic. Um, I I don't
He's
see it, but
lacking a
would I
little
get
bit of
rid of him? No.
charisma.
On what grounds would you get rid of him?
The
This is the
tricky thing
problem.
too is that the other guy who was available at the time that we didn't end up getting, who I spoke about at the time, Luke Williams, has taken Peterborough to third in the table during the time that he's been with them, and done even better. And I think that that's actually a real shame because his style of play is quite exciting to watch. In my opinion, I think that Liam shows signs that he can fix problems on the field and get us points. But yeah, I think it does take something a little bit more. It takes charisma, it takes entertainment to sell yourself as a manager as well.
Final one from Chris. It can't go on being this bad game after game. I can't jump on the bandwagon of 3 points is all that matters. Entertainment factor is 0. The style is abysmal. Leam Richardson might on paper look good, PPG, for example, but there's a fundamental reason so many people are staying away. Entertainment. And then I replied to him with that picture of Mick McCarthy. It can. It can.
That's what I thought you were going to say when you said that originally.
Yeah. The problem really, and I think the only time the ownership group will act is when those numbers across the board at home for attendance really hit below, because they've got to pull some money back here, and they're definitely not getting that through people coming through the door. So I think if people continue to stay away, that might force their hand. It seems farcical that we're talking about a manager that could be in trouble. I really don't think he is.
I don't
quite
think
frankly,
he's in trouble. No.
I don't think he's in trouble at all. I think they will give him the summer. I think they will give him a pre-season. I think they will give him, a chest of money to go and get what you think you need. I think the squad now really does need root and branch. I really do. I think they're going to have to make some really difficult decisions on some popular players. I think they're going to have to think seriously about the ethos around bringing those young players through. And I said this at the weekend in terms of those guys being out on loan. It's a big opportunity for them to really impress. I still don't think we'll meet playoffs. We're definitely, I say definitely, highly unlikely we get relegated. I think we stay where we are. And I think, by the end of this month, I think playoffs will be gone and we will just go through the motions. So, whether or not he then chooses to go, I might call some of these young players back from loan and stick them in the first team and see what happens.
Yeah.
Don't know.
I would actually agree with that.
By the way, few months as a pre-season, he could do that.
I would. I'm kind of keeping an interested eye on what's going on with Shea Spencer at the moment, and Charlie Savage coming into the last year of his deal. And obviously he didn't start against Wigan. We'll see if that was rotation or if that's something that Liam's going to continue. But Savage wants to play. We know that, and is capable of playing a full season of football. So I wouldn't be surprised if you're talking about hard decisions with popular players. I wouldn't be surprised if that's one of the places that we end up looking if Liam isn't going to play him week in, week out going forward. And with Wing's contract going longer and him being the captain, I don't see him being, I was talking about him maybe being dropped earlier this season, and I think I was wrong. Partially because I think Wing has shown what he does there, but partially also because they're just not going to drop him. Like that, I think Liam sees him as too important. So I'm really looking at what Shea Spencer's doing down at Wealdstone, because I think that the club is quite high on Shea Spencer. And if Savage is no longer with the club by September 1st, 2026, then I would expect that Shea Spencer will at least be hoping to make the match day squads next year for that. And so that's kind of interesting. But again, like you're talking about trying to get promoted from League One. You don't want to be talking about, is the guy who's on loan at Wealdstone going to save us? But in any case, I guess I'm just thinking about, two stories that could coincide at some point this season.
Yeah. Talking to stories, there's a game on Love Day coming up.
Yeah, love
And there's
day.
no love lost between these teams. Let me
Yeah.
tell you that. So we're going to get into the preview. Yeah, you haven't got any emails or anything, have you? Nah,
No, you're good.
don't worry about it.
Yeah,
Don't want an email anyway.
go straight past him.
Yeah, just forget it. So we're going to talk about Wycombe in a minute. Right, welcome back to the final part of episode 450. Don't know why my voice went really high at the end of the mailbag. No idea.
Wow, bit of fun. It was nice.
I've just eaten a banana. I ate a banana. Let's see that before we came on air, and I think it's like, I think bananas do like something to make that dries them out.
It does dry them out. I agree with that. Yeah, donuts. Bananas are like deodorant. Like if you touch deodorant by accident, like, and it's like really dry kind of thing, like the edge of it.
Yeah, it feels like that.
Yeah, I don't like the feeling you get in your teeth sometimes after eating a banana. Move on.
I'm just saying. Do you have bananas in America?
What? What? Do we have bananas in America?
Yeah.
Yes. You should. The history of some of it. There's a lot of interesting banana history in America that's worth looking up. Yeah. So go looking up banana history. My favorite banana theme thing, foam bananas. Do enjoy those. Like those in pick and mix sweets.
No, they're vile.
No, you don't
Do
like
you
those.
Pick and mix in America? Genuinely, is that a thing in America?
Not really. There are like old style sweet shops, but it's not nearly as much of a thing. I would say. So
okay. I mean, this game on Saturday, 12:30 kickoff. By the way, don't get caught out by that.
I know.
9th versus 10th.
Yeah.
43 points. The only difference is the goal difference. They're on +9, we're on +4. Although, ironically, we've scored more away goals in the league than anybody else this season.
Yeah. I'm saying, and under Liam, we have 8 wins, and 4 of them are home, 4 of them are away. Like, we just got 6 points out of 9 away from home in these games, and like you and I are disappointed that we didn't get more against Wimbledon, like at least a point in that particular game. So I do think that the away hoodoo has kind of dissipated. Don't get me wrong, right? More losses. We tend to, when we have a disappointing result at home, we tend to draw. And I'm thinking of like the Exeter game would be a really good example of this. But when we have a disappointing performance on the road, we tend to lose. And the Wimbledon game would obviously be a good example of that. Or I'm thinking about the Barnsley game under Noel Hunt earlier in the year as well. These two teams have had a very similar season. In that they started really slowly after a good year last year, but then have picked it up since like kind of November.
Yeah. I mean, they're currently in our Christmas form. So since the 1st of January, they played 6 games. They've only lost 1.
Yeah.
Guess who that was to?
Who was that to? Was that to us?
No, it's Peterborough.
Oh, well,
What about?
You see what I'm on about with this Luke Williams chat, don't you? It's almost like I predicted that I had to get one prediction right this season. You know,
it's almost like you said we should have brought him in as our manager.
Don't know anything.
Almost
about
like you really went for it to start with. Look, you know, Wycombe have over the last few weeks have really kicked on a bit. Last game was against Doncaster. They beat them 4-0. They got some good players. You know, they have got some good players, Wycombe. It's always an interesting one. You know, I know a lot of Reading fans are loving sort of hating on them and all the bants in inverted commas online, but I've said it before. I don't think of Wycombe. You know, I don't. They're just a club. I mean, you know, as a place, it's bad average to go to.
I think that's worse to a degree. If you say I don't even think about
I don't think about. Yeah, I just don't. I know the Currig thing and all the training ground stuff, you know, previously, but I don't see it with them. Like, they're not rivals. It's just another game, really. And
Hang on. What's the Curry thing?
The what?
You said the curry thing and the training ground stuff.
Coeg thing.
Oh, the Coeg thing. It's okay. I thought you were talking about a nice
Well, there
Rogan
are some good
Josh.
curry houses in Wycombe, actually. There are
Oh,
some
there you
really
go.
good curry houses in Wycombe,
Yeah.
which is irrelevant because we're playing them in Reading. I think it's an important game for us because, you know, if we can put on a performance and kind of leapfrog them into ninth or even higher up, depending on other results, that does ironically keep us in touching distance of playoffs. You know, I think the problem I've always said is that we can go out and we can do well in our games and pick up maximum points, but we're relying on these teams in the playoffs to drop them. And I just don't see that happening really in terms of their form. You know, obviously Bradford have hit the self-destruct button. Huddersfield are doing okay. Bolton are doing okay. I think it's obviously going to be Cardiff and Lincoln that go up. I think it's going to be very unlikely that it's not them. And obviously you've got Stockport as well, who've got pedigree at this level and have done well over the last couple of seasons. So, you know, for us to beat a divisional rival in terms of position, I think it's really, really important.
Yeah.
Same old question.
I think this will be a really indicative game in terms of like where we're at. Like the last three have been, as we've said many times now, but mathematically good, but still performance-wise, you know, not quite where we'd want. But I think, like, again, I said Wycombe have had somewhat of a similar season to Reading, and the Bradford look to be the team that might get plucked out of the top six right now. But there are teams like Luton, like Peterborough, and then I would say Wycombe and Reading are kind of your other two in that mix that have done better in the second half of the season. Yeah, they started to fall off a bit, but have done better in the second half of the season. And it's probably only going to be one of that four that will, you know, maybe nick a spot off Bradford. So I think it's going to be tough at this stage. A few weeks ago, I said I don't know where we're going to finish. I'm starting to kind of think we're going to finish 9th or 10th based on what we've seen over the past few weeks. But if we, you know, put together a really good performance against Wycombe, that should only breed confidence, and then again we'll be, you know, moving in the right direction. So yeah, that's kind of, I guess, I think it'll be very, very interesting to see, you know, how we deal with them.
You know, we play after that though, don't you?
Who's that?
Bolton at home.
Oh wow, perfect. So there you go. We've got chances right here to take points off the top teams.
Yeah, I mean, two big games at home coming up. Big results needed. With going back to the Wycombe game, does he make changes?
I would like to think that he'll keep Benn Ward in the team. And I think that it's going to be a case of, you know, like Wycombe are scoring fairly freely right now, so I wouldn't be shocked if he does keep it the same and try to, you know, kind of keep the three sort of defend, you know, back three center back kind of players, you know, back there just to have that stronger defense. Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked to see him do that. There's a lot of players out right now. You know, like Keane coming back. Chihuahua, I think, has gone a little bit longer. I'm not sure. But Randall Williams, the Williams and co have been gone for a long time now. So, you know, that could affect things. But in terms of, you know, if we were just talking about the players that played the other night, if that's the kind of game plan you want to go for again, you want to try and create chances against this team by attacking down the wing or trying to put the ball over the top to Marriott, then yeah, I'd probably go with this lineup again. You're bringing Savage back in, I'm guessing.
Yeah, obviously, especially at home.
Would you bring him back in an attempt to get him further forward, though, or back into the pivot with? No, so you're taking out like Lane or someone like that.
Yeah, I'm definitely taking out Lane. I'm taking Lane out of everything.
So you could, like, I mean, there's definitely like a world where you could put Kamari Doyle over to the right side and then put Savage on the left side. As the 10, as it were, but then he'll be in the left half space, and Lane will be on the right. Anyway, shut up, Ross. It is a tactical nonsense. Who cares? We're an hour and 12. I don't need to talk tactics anymore.
Yeah, We'll see what happens. 12:30 kickoff live at the Madstad. Take a loved one. If you've got one to take. If you want to put them through that, then do that. I
It's
quite
gonna.
like. I like 12:30 kickoffs. Ironically, I can't go. Well, I keep saying ironically on this pod tonight. Why am I keep saying ironically? It's not ironic that I'm not going. I
Well,
can't actually go on Saturday.
just call him Ben Morissette.
Yeah, but I will be. I'll be back on Tuesday. Not that anyone cares. I'll be going to the game on Tuesday. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Look, you know, it's an interesting tapestry of opinions, isn't it? At the moment.
Let me ask you one final question. I think will be indicative. Are you more confident in this team than you were in the team 12 months ago that did not have Sam Smith anymore, as a reminder?
I'm not confident in this team, no.
Okay, so if the team, again, minus Sam Smith, from the back half this time last year played the team now, do you think the team from this time last year would win?
Yeah.
Okay, I think the opposite. So I think that nicely sums up where we're at. So that's good.
Opposites attract, though, don't they?
Exactly.
It's not often we disagree, though, is it? Let's be honest.
No, Liam has been like an interesting kind of point for us, I think, in that like he has been. He's certainly not something that I'm like, oh my gosh, I will die on the hill for this man. Like he dies on the hill of a box midfield.
No, but you see something that I don't, which is great. That's fine. That's what makes life, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But I'm not sold. Whereas I think you're a bit more like maybe okay.
I'm still just enjoying the novelty of a Liam with an E and not an I, and that's everything for me.
Yeah, I don't know. Don't know what it is. Can't put my finger on it. Thank you very much for listening, everybody. Let us know what you think. We're not, the other week it was a bit more like Team Ross, Team Ben, and even one of the directors weighed in on it. So that was quite nice. But look, we welcome your opinions as always. We try to give you our opinions and hope that you sort of semi-agree with them or disagree or whatever. That's what makes this podcast really. So thank you for listening. This hopeful result on Saturday against Wycombe. Have a lovely rest of your week, whatever you're doing.
Enjoy it.
We'll see you on episode 451. Ross, take care. Enjoy your gherkin farming. And,
thank you.
We'll see you all soon. Come on, you ass.